This lesson is called Solving Quadratic Equations Using the Square Root Property. So far, we've talked about solving quadratic equations by factoring. And you set it equal to 0 and factored and then used the 0 property. So far, we've had just equations that work that way. But the square root property allows us to solve quadratic equations that are not factorable. So let's go for it. The square root property says that if x squared is equal to a number a, for a greater than or equal to 0, then x is equal to the square root of a, or x is equal to negative square root of a. So let's do the first one. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And you did this back in the day when you solved right triangles using the Pythagorean theorem. Square root of 9 is plus or minus 3. Look at that. And square root of x squared is x. So, and I'm saying that loosely. It's actually the absolute value of x, but we can do it this way because we account for that in the plus or minus 3. So there's actually two solutions. X is equal to 3 or x is equal to negative 3. Because if x is equal to negative 3, you guys, negative 3 squared definitely is 9. Okay, so here's my solution to A. Now let's do B. It's really important that you have something squared equal to some kind of constant on the other side. So this 7 is actually misplaced. So I'm going to add it to both sides, and I get x squared is equal to 25. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So I get the square root of x squared is equal to plus or minus the square root of 25. Square root of x squared is x, and then I will get plus or minus 5. So I have two solutions. X is equal to 5 or x is equal to negative 5. So let's do the... Alright, so I have 3x squared plus 6 is equal to 9. Well, the problem is this 3 and the fact that I don't have something squared equal to something. So first let me get rid of the 6. I'll bring him over. And then I'm going to divide out that 3 because I need something squared is equal to a number. So x squared is equal to 1. Perfect. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And then on the constant side, you say plus or minus the square root of whatever that is. So x is equal to 1, because the square root of 1 is 1, or x is equal to negative 1. Good? Now look at D. D is sort of cool because I have something squared equal to 4. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And I do the plus or minus the square root of 4. Square root of x plus 1 squared is just x plus 1 equals plus or minus 2. So far, so good. Now this is a little bit of a quandary because I need what x is, not what x plus 1 is. So I am going to divide this up into two things. Either x plus 1 is equal to 2, or x plus 1 is equal to negative 2. And I'm going to solve them separately. Subtract 1 here. So x is equal to 1, or subtract 1 here, x is equal to a negative 3. So those are the two solutions. X equals 1 or x equals negative 3. Let's try the next one. This one is a little bit more intense. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides, plus or minus the square root of 11, And so I get x minus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 11. Now the square root of 11 is not a perfect square, so we're going to leave it as is. And we're going to divide it into two equations. X minus 3 is equal to the square root of 11, or x minus 3 is equal to negative square root of 11. So either way, I have to add 3 to both sides. So now, add 3 here. Here's my result. This guy's going to go all the way over here. So x is equal to 3 plus the square root of 11. And this guy will come here. X is equal to 3 minus the square root of 11. And these are what we call exact values. Good? Now, if I want to get approximate values, I just take my handy-dandy calculator out and do 3 plus the square root of 11, and I get approximately 6.32. And then I do 3 minus the square root of 11, and that's approximately negative 0.32. So these are approximate. So when you leave the square root in the problem, it's exact. In other words, if the square root doesn't simplify and you leave it in the problem, it's exact. When you use your calculator to approximate those square roots, then it's approximate. Last but not least, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the exact values first and then get approximate to 3 decimal places this time. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. This one is challenging, but we don't care. We can do it. Good? So this will be 2x minus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 8. Okay, so you guys, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do everything at once, and then I'm going to show you how to separate. So I'm going to add 3 first. So I will get 2x is equal to 3 plus or minus the square root of 8. And then I'm going to divide everything by 2. Perfect. Now here's the deal. I'm going to separate 3 plus the square root of 8 over 2. And I'm going to put parentheses around this so when I do it in my calculator, it'll remind me. And 3 minus the square root of 8 all over 2. Now, these are both exact and they're wonderful, but I bet that you can simplify the square root of 8 to 4 times 2 is 8. The 4 comes out as a 2. So this will be 3 plus 2 radical 2 over 2. And now we can use our information from above. 3 minus 2 radical 2 over 2. And now I'm going to put it into the calculator. Now these are your exact, right? Because I didn't approximate anything. And now I'm going to approximate both of them to 3 decimal places. And I use the little wiggly equal sign indicating I'm going to do an approximation. So on my calculator, I just do parentheses, 3 plus 2 times radical 2, and then divide it by 2, because I can do that. And I'm going to get approximately 2.914. And then the other one is 3 minus 2 radical 2 divided by 2, and I will get approximately equal to 0.7 0.086. So these guys right here are approx. Good? Now, if you're having any calculator issues, please ask your instructors, and they can just show you how to just enter it in bada bing, bada boom for the approximation. Now you're able to do this assignment. Good luck, ask questions, stay strong, and do the math.